Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Shadowverse. So we are trying to wrap up Shadowverse, going through the main story. I've left the game sitting too long once again. I should definitely double check this. One thing I will say though is, at the very least, Shadowverse in their interface compared to the game I'm playing now, Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. Like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, when you're sitting on this main screen, it is just every 5 seconds connecting back to a server, looking to see if there's any new announcements or any updates, and just everything is server side, as far as like whether you've done the daily missions or anything like that. So you can't even click around to like solo mode without being connected to the internet. But obviously, even for Shadowverse, that's the case. So I guess they break even on that. It's just that Shadowverse hides it better. Anyways, we're gonna do this Drock class story, which this is, I assume, the Dragoncraft replacement. And as far as the main Dragoncraft character, I've long since forgotten about him as a personality. Pretty much all the male main characters as personalities suck, and there's just not anything there of interest. In fact, there's barely much there of interest of even the female characters. So I kind of feel like the Dragoncraft character himself, well, at least in the way I was playing, I had put a different skin on the original Dragoncraft character, and long since stopped playing the main one. But I guess storyline wise, the main Dragoncraft character has been the main Dragoncraft character consistently, although we've gotten replacements like this before. We kind of already know that this is a different timeline, or deep in the future of the Cowboy Town area, because you have this whole tower, and the whole map is just a destroyed version of that. And we'll probably get the exact same intros and outros for each of these, but the in-between stories
and shadow
will be different.
A curse spreads its bat-like wings over the land.
Well, maybe this is different.
The flow of life has been corrupted, stained by a malevolent god. The curtain rises on a new stage. Velsar, where shadows shroud all, covered by infinite rivers.
Of course, the problem here is that
it is a land of claws, fangs,
you would want to just have this whole story told to you in a row. But then when you have 4 different characters that have parallel stories and some repeated text, you're just going to end up seeing the same thing 4 times. And that really just feels like they're stretching to make sure there's a certain amount of content. And I don't really feel like there's a need for a certain number of words or sentences to be spoken. It would have made a lot more sense for the intro and the outros to be their own thing, and then split for the character's story, and then merge back together for the ending. But it doesn't, I think, even really work that way always. We may very well find that the second character here has a different ending than the first character, and the third character may have a different ending, a more progressed ending as far as the overall story.
She quests for her mother, following a trail of whispered words. But where the path will lead her, none can see.
We'd already seen her story.
These lives will join, intersect. But But will they be enough to overcome the heavy grasp of fate?
You'd think that at some point
A moot question.
they would have even
Mortals
thought
cannot
about
overthrow a god.
adding all 4 of the
You are
character
weak
class. I
and
mean,
utter
all 8 of the
disappointment.
character classes
How
for
you
each of
managed to
these
make it here, I sure
single
don't
player
know.
stories, but they don't do that
I
either.
was hoping for someone worthy. Indeed, I was hoping for my next vessel.
So this is the Lord of Darkness.
Lord? No. I am a god. And you all are sheep in my fold. Now, I will keep you as long as there's any profit in it. At the moment
So we
you
have
lose your value to
Orisa
me,
being
you
possessed
shall be
by
led to the slaughter.
a Shillandrig again. Really just showing
Stretch
up at the
forth their
beginning
hands, but cannot grasp victory.
and not showing up
They strive with
anywhere
all
else
their
in the
strength,
story.
but cannot defy fate.
Mm.
Claws and fangs break and shatter.
And so this could have been
Forfeiting
hundreds,
the
thousands,
darkness.
millions of years in the future
ending of our
compared
newest
to the
tale
events of the previous
is as of yet
chapter.
unwritten.
And Orisa could literally, her body could be used as a vessel for that long. And I don't know if that really matters at all, because we have not seen any of the other characters at all, as far as the original 8 main characters. So the events of these last 5 chapters potentially could be happening in some kind of like pocket timeline that only lasts for a few seconds compared to the other characters. Either that, or when they finally do get around to reintroducing the other characters, they may say that the other characters have been without Orisa, away from Orisa for many
That's
years.
the sky. Kinda gloomy, right? But some say that a long time ago, it used to be blue. Why blue of all colors? Maybe it was because of some strange ancient magic. Or maybe some idiot painted it that way. Whatever it was, I bet
Again,
it's just
we
some
have
old
one of these
legend. After
internal
all,
dialogue
a blue
things
sky here, of all places?
where it's just black screens.
Can you even imagine? A calm, peaceful backdrop to this world of strife and suffering?
Well, the
No.
sky is kind of blue. There's
There are
definitely
no
blue
blue
in that.
skies in Velsar. The guy who created this place was called the Lord of Darkness, or something like that. After
Like they're
he
trying to
created
impose
Velsar,
darkness without
he fell
having
into a deep
complete
slumber, and nobody knows
darkness.
why. What I do know, though, is people are trying to wake him. They're itching to fight him and claim
They should
his
have
throne
had
as the ruler
more
of the
red
world.
tints in the sky if they were gonna
That's the
say this
reason
line of
for all this
dialogue.
strife, all this suffering. No one can escape the bloodshed. The Dragonutes, yokai, werewolves, we're all in this together. What a waste of energy. As for me, well, I couldn't care less who takes the throne. All I want is an easy life. Simple and unchanging. Just like it's always been. I told you, knock it off already! You know I'm not interested.
That may be so, young master. However, this isn't simply a question of your interest or lack thereof. This is about doing what's best.
So
for
you
the
have these
Dragonute
kind
clan.
of dragon
What's that gotta
newts.
do with me, Greats?
So
It
slightly
has
different type of
everything to
dragons
do with you.
than what we have seen
You
before.
are the Dragonute clan's rightful leader, after all.
Don't I get a say in this future you all seem to have chosen for me?
It was not us that chose your path, young one. It was your late...
Whether it was Pops or the rest of you, it doesn't make a difference. Why should I care about the future of the clan? I inherited the Seer Stone, but that doesn't mean I want it. Pops Pops had a lot of
We'll have to
followers,
figure
but
out
you're
what the
his
seer
right-hand man,
stone
So
is.
why not you? I'm
This
sure
is
you'd make a
really
great
slow.
leader. Better than
Particularly
me
with the
anyway.
pauses.
I'm not the right guy for the
Might
job.
be easier
No
for me
people
to
around here
just
say about me.
click the forward button
Is that what's bothering you?
as soon as the audio
You should
stops
pay little
playing.
heed to the chattering of idle gossip mongers. Young master, your grandfather had the utmost faith in you. That's why I know.
No? Know what exactly? See, the thing is, Greats, I'm not cut out for this sort of
We
responsibility.
really don't need
I'm not
pauses
doing this.
after all this
Young
if it's
master,
voiced
you were
out
born
loud.
for this. The burden of the Dragonute clan is yours to carry, and yours alone.
But I imagine
With the Seer Stone, you
what's happening
That
here is
thing
that
doesn't
it
make a
is
shred of
pausing the
difference.
same amount of
Don't tell me
time
you've forgotten
whether
about
it
what
was
it
playing
does.
the Japanese audio or
of
the
course not.
English
The
audio.
Seer Stone. We Dragonutes have handed down the precious gem for countless generations. Inside it sleeps unspeakable magic power. A power that will help us achieve what we have dreamed of for so long.
It's just a really long conversation.
The Lord of Darkness's throne, and the world with it. If you take in the Seer Stone, you'll have access to vast reservoirs of magic.
Yeah, that's right. The Seer Stone is what
Be
has
funny
the
if the
power,
Seer Stone
not
was
me.
that fate
I didn't
bullet.
ask for any of this.
Young master,
Why should I waste my life making other people's dreams come true? Am I just a tool? A vessel for the Seer Stone? Whatever. It's not like it matters anyway. And you know what? Don't even get me started on Pops. That guy thought I was...
enough. You do well to hold your tongue.
Too much conversation at the front
Our
here.
leader, your grandfather.
But then
loved
I
you
doubt
dearly.
we're gonna find a
As his
section
right-hand
where
man,
it's
that
too
much
little
I can
information or
guarantee.
too little text.
I won't lie to you. Your grandfather's followers are indeed skeptical about your ability to lead. However, through hard work and diligence, you can prove them
See, and it's
all
just
wrong.
ridiculous that we're 12 minutes into this
I know you
episode
can
and
do this, young master.
we're still just getting set
Just
up.
like I know, you can overthrow the Lord of Darkness and take the world by storm. Young master.
You know, sometimes people
you will
complain
carry
about
the Dragonute clan to
anime
glory.
things where
I have no doubt
where
of all
somebody
that.
is in the middle of an action scene in the middle of the fight and they're talking about themselves
no use for
and they're like
what I want is
saying I'm gonna win because of my grandfather and in reality you wouldn't be talking in the middle of the
It
fight,
doesn't
you'd be
matter
focusing
anyway.
on the fight. But
Young master, I
as
haven't
an
finished
art
talking.
form,
What in the
it
world
makes
are
a
you?
lot more sense if you can
Young
try and
master!
overlap action
I'm
with
heading out. Take care of things
dialogue
here for
and
me.
story building, and they just don't have a way to do that
Something, isn't he?
as far as this game goes.
He certainly is. What am I?
You
to
wouldn't
do
want to
with him?
put something where you have to like
Great.
solve
sir.
a puzzle
You are
or
already our leader in every way but
play
name.
rock paper scissors
sure
or
the late
something to
master
move to the
wanted-
next line of
That's quite enough.
dialogue. You wouldn't want a gameplay mechanic to be
If
an
I require
impedance.
any assistance, I shall summon you.
But
Yes, sir.
Goodness me.
I really wish there was something
What
to
a
do
mess.
here other than
Young
just
master,
sit and click.
I understand
or let
your
it
wish to run
autoplay.
and hide. I truly do. However, fate is a strange thing indeed. No matter how far you run, it will always catch up with you in the end.
A lot of times it's like the last sentence that's said anyways. That's the
Does
only
that guy
important
ever talk
thing.
about
So
anything else?
you could just be a lot more subtle.
Seer Stone this, taking over the world that. I never asked for any of this.
Yeah, you could have skipped most of that
One day,
conversation and
boy,
just started here.
You will lead the Dragonute clan. When that day comes, you must take the throne of the Lord
And here you
of
have a
Darkness.
black screen with a
You won't be alone,
nostalgia
however.
film
You'll
grain
be
over it.
guided by the power of the Seer Stone.
So you know it's a
Believe
flashback.
me, you will be stronger than any.
I get it already. Jeez, Pops.
Drak. One day.
This really highlights how they just don't have the
already understand.
manpower and the
And I'm fed
budget
up with it
to
all.
make these single
I
player
just want
stories.
I just want to.
Like there should be a better director in charge of Shadowverse to say, hey, let's just wrap this up and stop doing this.
It's nothing really.
They should have said no single player
just on my
story
way to get a
mode
drink.
that's this
Would you like to come
extreme
along?
in the first place.
Sure, I guess. Go ahead. I'll catch up with you later.
If
So,
you say so, young master.
A
I
couple
guess I'll
Dragon
see you
Newt
later then.
girls.
This sky's so dark. I can't see a single thing out there.
Yeah, a good game director would have said, no, we're not going to have a single player mode like this. If we're going to... I get the idea of a single player mode, but Hearthstone manages to live without that, so it's not really needed. Magic the Gathering Arena manages to not do that. Magic the Gathering, in particular, sells books and actually hires authors to write books and artists and sells them at a pretty big markup for the people that really care about the story. Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Masters, the game I'm playing now, has story modes that are super short and don't really try to connect with the main characters you play as, because you don't play as a main leader or character, you just play as yourself, which honestly makes a lot more sense. In fact, the 8 different character classes that you can play as in Shadowverse is by far the most crazy implementation of that system. Magic has the 5 colors, but you can also make mixes of colors. Yu-Gi-Oh! Has like 5 colors that you can mix the different colors in any way you want. Hearthstone did have specific leaders, but I in the long run think that was probably a mistake. It was almost certainly an attempt by Hearthstone to not look like a Magic the Gathering clone. But yeah, playing as a warrior or a mage in Hearthstone
Hey,
definitely
mind if I
complicated
hang around
things.
for a while?
Oh, it's you, Drock. Come on in, kid.
Things, might get kind of rowdy, but you know not to worry.
Thank you, sir. Truth be told, business hasn't been great
It's
today.
too many
So
characters.
you're doing me a favor.
Also,
Is that so? Now that you mention it, it's pretty empty in here.
then you have
I
those
haven't seen
kind of
that guy
hawk
around here
creatures.
Who, him? Yeah, he drops by every now and then. Looks like he's asleep right now.
Wait, was he drinking blood shots? No wonder he's passed out. Honestly, it's a miracle he's not dead.
Nah, give him enough time and he'll wake up again. Then he'll go right back to drinking. He can really put it away, too. In fact, it's almost kind of scary how much he can drink.
So
Jeez.
what this is establishing
Well,
is
I
that
shouldn't keep my company waiting
feels
any
like there's
longer.
way more Dragon Newt than any
Sure
of the
thing,
other
kid. Take as long
types
as
of
you like.
monsters.
Hey, sorry to keep you waiting.
You sure took your
I
time,
think
young
it's
master.
weird in particular
Don't
for
tell
them
me
to
Great's caught up with you on
introduce
the way.
2 characters.
Nah,
And we've seen
I was
that
just
as a
looking up at the
consistent
sky.
weirdness, is that they clearly just wanted
Really?
to
That's not
have
like you at all,
2
young
kind of anime
master.
Dragon Newt characters to show off.
Move over so I can sit down, will you?
But storyline wise,
Come on, young master.
it would make more sense to just have one voice actor and
Now then, let's
one
go all out.
character.
You can handle that, can't you?
You bet we can.
Here's to tonight.
Time for the next
It's funny
round.
how he's jumping up and down every time he's
Seriously? Another
slamming a
round
glass
after all
down on the
that?
table.
I underestimated you, young master.
I'm just getting started.
I should have known you'd be good at this sort of thing, young master.
Remember, every card that
Another
comes
round.
out
What'll it
in
be?
Shadowverse has its own lore
Right.
behind it.
Next
Not that
round.
very many people see that. So there's somebody somebody writing a lot of lore there
No
that's
effect at all.
not being used very
That's the strongest stuff I've
efficiently.
got.
And
What sort of monster are you, my
with
friend?
every character, there's a
You get used to it.
with every character there's
I'll take
an
a
artist
bloodshot.
drawing that
Young
character.
Master, you can't be serious.
That stuff's practically poison.
It's kind of
Yeah,
ridiculous that they
you
would
know what? I'm not going to be outdone by pretty
have
boy
a
over there.
drink
That weirdo?
that was
Well,
practically
He can
poison,
hold
but
his liquor, that's for sure.
whatever.
He didn't even acknowledge you when you walked in. Just who does he think he is?
Who knows?
Oh, young master, don't scowl
me
like that.
Move the microphone a little bit
Huh?
closer to
I'm
me
not scowling. This is just how my
because
face
I'm
looks.
now using my
You won't hear the end of it if
recliner
the
chair,
Ringling
which I
ones catch
moved
wind of this.
in front of the computer screen.
It's not like I want to
Makes
fight
it
him. I just want to know what his deal is.
Easier
don't
to
you?
certainly settle in for a long journey, which certainly
Oh, I'm interested
this
in
visual
him, all
novel
right.
is going to be a long journey.
Never seen anyone outdrink you before.
Hope it doesn't get to his head, though. For his sake.
Settle down. You want to make a good first impression. Hey, you there.
Yeah, nothing really a lot to say here. I do kind of agonize
Sorry about
over
my
that
friends.
idea
I know they can be kind of
because
loud. Well, all dragon newts can, actually.
you want to create
You're not
content,
really
you
known
want to
for
have
being quiet.
something to say, but
Not a bother.
I mean, all you're
I've
really
watched
doing
you
here,
for a while now.
if you're
You
not a
can really drink,
YouTuber,
can't
is
you?
is
Even
effectively
Rydo
just
drank
watching
bloodshots.
a very low
I
quality
just like the
cartoon,
color of him.
anime,
Huh. What,
and as a
so you
content
get the
creator,
blood or
all I'm
something?
doing here is trying to
I suppose you could
desperately
say that.
find something to comment on.
Hmm.
The
Is
art
this
doesn't
guy
look bad,
stupid or
but the
something?
background,
Or maybe it's just an
while
act.
very beautiful, the
You could cut
backgrounds
this
are
Tyson with a
static,
knife.
and
Is
then
he making a
the
fool of
very
me?
beautiful backgrounds like this one that
Whatever.
are
I
static
just want to mess with him a little.
uh,
I'm sure this guy can take it.
get balanced out by
Oh,
the
looks
massive
like young master's
reuse
up to some mischief.
and the backgrounds that have just nothing,
How about we join in? Could be fun.
nothing happening at all.
Hey, you. We've been talking
The
about
only
you.
thing that
See,
would justify
I'm pretty
having
stuck up
two
on you.
female interest characters
Do you
here
even know who this
is to
is?
potentially have two fights
Yes.
in a
More than you
row,
do, in fact.
like one chapter fight and
What
then
did you
another
say?
chapter fight, but
Hey now, chill out. There's no need to get up in his face like that.
there's really no reason to add
Though to be honest,
the
friend, I kind of agree with you.
card fights
It's
either,
awfully rude to not greet someone when they walk by, especially someone who's been paying
because they're
so much attention to you.
even
that
in
dragon
these
is
new
custom?
solo expansions,
More of a personal rule of mine.
like
I'm sure you get it, right?
they're really struggling to find
Seriously?
a different
He's so
kind
not
of
phased?
or
He's either real
thematically
dangerous or
connected
real stupid.
enemy to fight.
Well, let's see which one it is.
And that was true.
So
Interesting.
you're
Notice that
ignoring
his
me now, huh?
lips weren't moving there. I guess he was
Well, let
thinking
me
to
tell you
himself.
something.
They,
I don't like your attitude.
We were friends once.
even in the
Drinking
prologue,
companions.
there was
What?
that problem where
Man, I knew it.
you would
You're
have
drunk.
some story told
You
to
still
you,
look
and then
awful
you would
pale,
fight
though.
a shadow, and the shadow
What
fight
do you
would
say
not
we
really
get some
connect
blood
to
back
the
into those
story that was
cheeks?
happening.
Come
Then
on,
you'd get to
liven
some
him
more
up.
story, and then you'd have to
Liven
have
him
another
up, huh?
fight with another shadow.
What a joke.
At the very
This
least,
whole world is a joke.
these later chapters have significantly reduced the number of challenges, but they've also drastically increased the challenge
It has
to
been
the
a
point
while
where
since
the
I've
last
actually
challenge
loved.
that I had to do was
Yes.
nearly impossible,
Injuring me will be no easy
and it's
task.
been that way for probably the last 5 chapters, that they've been really difficult battles.
Well, look at that.
Honestly,
I
it's
guess
been
you're not
that
as
way
weak as you
since
look,
the
huh?
conclusion of
But-
World Reaver.
You aren't that impressive either. Am I right? You dragonutes see the world
And
in
then we're
black
back to
and
the
white.
cliche.
People as either
Just-
formidable enemies or helpless quarry.
It's been a long time since I've seen any of these stories, but I definitely remember.
Stripping them
I'm
to
starting
the
to
bone.
remember more of the cliches of
That is the
people
dragon
being
way,
attacked
no?
and then falling to the
You
ground.
don't know the first
And
thing
one-
about us.
One
Perhaps.
blow of the sword.
Perhaps not.
I don't like the way he's looking at me. Like as if he can read me. I was just gonna have a little fun. But this guy, I don't like him. I don't like his eyes and the way he looks at me.
So it seems
You're starting
like
to make me real angry, pal.
the Drock is just going to be a hothead.
Don't call me
But
as if we're friends.
it seems like this vampire
Quarrel does not
character
lie with me.
is going to
Your anger
is
stems from an
capable
issue far deeper.
of remembering
You cannot
previous
move forward
timelines,
until you come to understand that.
and so he is affecting the current timeline,
You won't be alone, however.
which at some level means he's probably a pawn or working for the
I get it already.
Bad-
Jeez, Pops.
bad girl gypsy character.
One day, you will understand.
I already understand. And I'm fed up with it all. I just want to... This guy. What could he possibly know about me? What does he think he knows?
And it's so little is happening here. I'm literally just grabbing my cell phone and setting up a different game on my cell phone to multitask.
Not change a thing.
Quit looking at me like that. Quit looking at me like you pity me. I can't deal with this guy. Talking like he knows me. It's people like him that really get on my nerves.
It would be interesting if
It's
this
getting
kind of
fast.
story
I'm done here.
was hidden behind
going
opening
down.
packs,
Hey,
in the
you
sense
got a
that
name?
throughout every new expansion,
Alizard, huh?
you were given
That's a name I won't forget
say,
anytime soon.
somewhere
Sorry
around
for all
50
the trouble.
packs
I guess
that you
we'll be
could
leaving
earn
now.
and earn gold for and open.
Later.
And as
Oh,
you
and take
open
care on
a
your
single
way home.
pack, you get this cutscene playing as a reward. But the reason why they would never actually allow that is
Young
because
Master, I'm sorry.
they don't
We
want
should've-
to get in the way of
Don't worry
people
about it.
spending
It was all
hundreds
my
upon
fault.
hundreds
I
of
chose the wrong
dollars of
person to mess around with,
opening
that's all.
packs.
You're not
Particularly
hurt.
if you're a whale.
For anything
That
to
they're
happen to those pretty
most of these
faces.
games love the whales that spend thousands of dollars
Oh, it's
every
such a
month
genre,
on their
young master.
Honestly,
collectible
that guy. What was his
virtual
deal?
content.
Not somebody I need to bother with.
Hmm.
Take care of him for me, would you? That freak had no sense of self-preservation. Saying stuff like he's known me all my life.
So it sounds like Drock is
Just
a
ignore
bad
what he
guy.
said.
Yeah, I know that. He didn't really get to me. Just got under my scales a little.
I'll go get the others.
Excuse us, young master.
Your quarrel does not lie with me.
What's funny is
Your
he's more
anger
than
stems
willing
from
to
an
be the
issue
boss
far
when he
deeper.
wants
You
something.
cannot move forward until you come to understand that.
Young master, I haven't finished talking. What in the world are you?
If they could just get rid of the flashback junk.
Drock, one day, you will understand.
We have been enemies on the battlefield and companions at the bar. I have tried everything, but I could not change a thing.
It seems like this vampire character,
Him.
may be the only vampire,
Everyone.
and
Why do they all have to get under my scales?
he seems to have the
Why
goal
do we
of
have to live under this
changing the
pitch black
timeline.
sky? Why does the world have to be crap on top of that? There's no way I could fly in the sky. No way at all.
I guess maybe they can fly, but don't. You'd think someone who looks this old would have flown and learned to flown a long time ago. Yeah, I could definitely see if you didn't care so much. You move the character over to the left, and then you fade out a point here to show a pack opening, and just show a new card opening as it's happening, and then with the mouse, after every couple sentences, a new card shows, and with the mouse you can click on it, and then it would just pause everything, and you bring up the card screen so you could look at that new card. I kind of would love to see something like Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel get really generous and have packs that gave you 20, 25 cards per pack at a very cheap price. All that really would mean is that there would be a lot of garbage cards, but yeah. If you have a story that's playing, if you have a cutscene that's playing,
I wish you would all
while
just leave me
card
alone.
packs are opening,
You
that
know,
would be
the
fine.
world was once worth living in. Things used to be better. Believe it or not, I smiled a lot as a kid. I mean, I had reasons to.
I wonder if there is a real value in potentially
When I
having
grow up,
a
I'm gonna turn the
collectible
sky
card
blue.
game
Just you wait.
that had a lot more
The sky.
garbage
That's
cards,
rather
or a
ambitious,
lot
my
less
boy.
garbage cards,
We'll stop
like
all
one
this
way or
fighting
the
and
other.
become friends. Then we can all soar.
If you have basically
high up
no
into the
junk
sky.
cards, then usually there's no
And
variety
what of your friends
in
without wings?
how you can play
Well,
and the
I
decks you
guess
can
I'll just have
make.
to ride on my back.
But if you have a ton of junk
If that's your
cards,
plan,
it
you're going
still
to have to
really
grow up
doesn't
very
have that
big
much
and strong,
variety
you know.
nowadays,
But if
because
anyone
it's
can
very
do it,
easy to
Truck,
look up
it's you.
what you
Yeah.
should be
And you'll
playing
help
if you
me,
want to
won't you,
win.
Grates?
Although having a
You're such a
lot of junk
stupid
cards,
kid,
if you can
getting caught
dissolve
up in
them
childish
into a
dreams.
dust to
Even
craft
so,
better
it was enough
cards,
to make me smile. Not just me,
then
but the people around me too.
there's something to that
I'm
idea.
not the same person I was back then, though. I changed, just like everyone else.
I'd like to see card packs sometimes have a card that just says
Pops,
dust
why'd you have to go
or
and die?
premium currency, gems,
I didn't
crystals,
even get
whatever
to
they're called.
apologize.
And so that
I
there
just
is
want-
just a chance of
So,
getting your money
This
back
is where you were hiding.
as far as a
You missed the end of your
virtual currency
grandfather's
when
funeral,
opening
you
a
know.
pack.
I know, sorry. I just couldn't stand being there any longer.
Don't worry
They-
about it,
that's
Truck.
not how they make them. They make it
No.
so you spend
I
real
cannot speak
world
to you like a
money for
child any
premium
longer,
currency, premium
can I?
currency for less
You have
premium
done nothing
currency,
wrong,
less
young
premium
master.
currency for even less premium
What?
currency.
Greats?
Never go in the opposite
Our
direction.
master. No. Our late clan master is no longer with us. Therefore, you shall take his place as the next master of our clan. Only you, who inherited the fabled
They keep
Seer
talking
Stone,
about,
have the power to overthrow
clans,
the Lord
but
of Darkness, young master.
I don't know if that means there are multiple Dragon
You will
Newt
finish
clans,
what your
or
grandfather
if
started.
all Dragon Newts are a
I'm
clan
sure you will
versus
make a splendid leader,
all the other kinds of
a
monsters.
symbol of hope for the Dragonood clan.
They just call it the Dragon Newt
That's
clan,
how
so
it
you'd
happened,
assume
I
it's
guess.
all
I
Dragon
went
Newts
from being
are
me
united.
to being the head of the Dragon Newt clan.
So when's the coronation, Drock?
Yeah, this whole
Young master,
this whole
as our new leader, you
chapter
must possess some incredible power, right?
clearly
Won't you show us?
could have just been the first
Young
chapter.
Master will inherit the late Master's dying wish. We Dragonoots are going to be ruling over Velsar before you know it.
It took no time at all. Before I knew it, Drock was no more. Who am I?
Why, you're the young master. Of course. The leader of the Dragonood clan. And our
This seems to
symbol of
be
hope.
a recurring
Is that really
theme
me?
that
Is
is
that who I
happening
really
here,
am, Greats?
that is probably echoing the
Of
fact
course that's who
that
you are.
Arissa
The moment you take
lost
down
her
the Lord of
personality
Darkness, you'll secure
as
this world for our clan and usher
Ilshung
in a
or
new
however you
era.
pronounce his name, took over her
But what if I
body.
don't want that? I don't want the world.
Whatever do you mean?
Everyone seems to have forgotten about what I want.
But
It's not the world at our feet that I wanted, but the sky above us.
you have 4 characters here,
Did you know, Greats?
so
They say the sky used to be blue. Creatures
why
float in it
not
too.
tell
Living
one
things
story
like you and me.
of 4
Can you imagine
characters
trying to do that in this pitch
who
black sky? Anything
all
that tried to fly would just fall,
are trying to find
dragged back down
themselves.
to filthy earth.
Almost like a
The
Stand By
dragons,
Me
the
style,
yokai, the werewolves, we're all fighting for the same thing.
finding
Just
out
doesn't
who
make
you are
sense.
style story.
All I want is the freedom to.
Enough.
They certainly could tell
Freedom
that
is
kind of
only won
story
by fighting for
without
it.
the fighting and the violence.
The Seer Stone, which your grandfather protected so fiercely,
Which
could only
I
be
think that
inherited
probably
by you.
highlights the
And
difference
you alone
between this visual novel, which
to
has to
understand,
integrate
yes?
itself, or at least try
If
to
it were
integrate
given to
itself
anyone else,
with
they
the
would not be able to control its
Shadowverse
overwhelming
card game.
power.
Whereas
No more
if
than
this
a
was
day,
just a standalone
they
visual
burn
novel,
themselves to
you
ash.
don't need to have the fights.
But you,
And
young
this,
master,
most of the stories being told
you can harness its power.
don't require a
You can
need to a
control
fight.
it, shape it to your will.
And when there is a fight, it could be a
Please,
bigger fight
try to
if it
understand.
wasn't being
You're an
watered
adult
down
now.
by the
You must-
lesser, mediocre
Knock it
fights.
off. This is getting old, Greats. How many times do we have to have this conversation? What a joke. This is getting old. Young master this, young master that. Just once, I wish they would call me.
Drak, your quarrel does not lie with me. Your anger stems from an issue far deeper. You cannot move forward until you come to understand that.
Now they're telling us it's Alucard in the flashback, but it was question mark, question mark, question mark before.
All I wanted was to have something to smile about.
And there's no reason for it to be question
I
mark,
didn't wanna
question
wear a
mark,
frown for
question
the
mark,
rest of my life.
if they weren't going to
I just
have
wanted
him
to soar.
introduce
I
themselves.
said it was impossible. And then I was just a kid. You know? That's the funny thing about adults. Somewhere along the way, they all abandon their dreams. They grow cold and bitter and try to get you to abandon yours too. I'm done with them. If they won't let me live out my dreams, why should I help them live out theirs?
Ha! If that's your plan, you're going to have to grow up very
I
big
am
and strong, you know. But if anyone
Probably
can do it,
somewhat
Drak, it's you.
trained by Western movies, action movies, Marvel movies, things like that.
Me?
They
Why,
kind of
of course, my
expect
boy.
that tight 1 hour and 45 minute of 1 hour and 50-minute
Promise me.
experience in which
All right, all
usually
right.
in the first 12
It's a
minutes you're going to
promise.
have a major fight
So much
scene,
for
a major
promises.
action scene.
I was happy
Um,
once, but you all
But
took
having that
away.
become kind of the standard
Now
way
this
of
whole
telling a
world pisses
story,
me off.
when you get to a visual novel of any sort, you're going to have to kind of reset and realize, no, this is going to be slow. This is going to be like a novel to where you're going to have to read 3 or 4 chapters just to establish the world. Right, so make sure we skip the battle. But yeah, there's seemingly only 7 chapters, and we've really done nothing more than establish Drought as a character,
Young master.
which really
You've
makes
returned,
this
I see.
storyline is
Yeah, what's with the face?
a throwaway
trouble have you gotten
storyline.
yourself into
Definitely
this
not the
time?
most focused upon one.
Trouble. I was just taking care of some no-name lowlife.
Young master, you must cease this foolish behavior. You are the leader of the Dragonoot clan. It's about time you got your act together.
How about you mind your own business?
This is my business.
I've had enough of this, Greats. I mean, do you ever talk about anything else? I didn't actually get my hands dirty, so what's the problem?
The honor of our clan is at stake. If anyone were to tarnish our image,
Just say it. By anyone, you mean me.
I do. And that's precisely why you need to get your act together.
It's
Great.
kind of a quick
How
twist.
many times do I have to drill this into your skull? I don't want any part in this. I wouldn't sacrifice a single scale for the clan.
What do you want then? To spend the rest of your life among tavern floozies? Killing whoever as you please?
Of course not.
Then tell me, what is it that you want? I thought you'd come around eventually, but you're not the boy I knew anymore. I do not understand. A leader must
So are we gonna
always do
fight
his
Grits,
best to
or
accept
is
the
he just
path that
gonna
he's been set
go on the
on.
speeches?
One cannot run away from their fate. And yet, to see you trying to run and hide like a precocious brat.
I kind of feel like
Incomprehensible.
Drott should
I
like
don't understand why you're doing
accidentally
this.
get drunk and kill
Of course you
Grits
don't. How could you
in the
ever
first or second
understand?
chapter,
Young
and
master,
then that
why
could
are
have
you
sped
always
up
so dismissive of your fate?
something.
You cannot blindly refuse
Like, I don't even
everything
know
that-
what's gonna happen here.
Me?
Like,
It's all of you that refuse everything.
best I can accept, I can guess, is that he's going to
The clan,
go through some kind of
everyone,
journey
you all
and
refuse to accept the real me.
accept
Piss me
being
off.
the leader of the clan.
When I grow up,
Or he's gonna
turn
run
this guy
away
blue.
from the clan.
Just you wait.
You've forgotten, haven't you? The real me.
We'll stop all this fighting and become friends. Then we can all soar high up into the sky.
You all left me behind.
Yeah, and you'll help me, won't you, Greats?
You all refuse to
See,
accept who I
and
really
even
am.
if this is a fight where he
What
kills
nonsense are you talking
Grits,
about?
now
And that's the problem.
we've
I'm
got,
not
what,
at fault here.
3
You are.
chapters in which he could kill
You,
him and start
Pops,
fleeing.
Everyone.
I can't even remember the last time something made me smile.
And it's
Why
hard to
should I
think
have to
that
live
that
like
would be
this just
a
because someone else
good
decided I should?
finding your own personal
I told you,
freedom
didn't I?
story by
I never wanted to
killing
lead this clan in
somebody
the first
and
place.
running away.
Young master, I apologize for eavesdropping, but I think you're going too far.
What are you doing? Get out!
Please let me speak. Young master, do you intend to behave like a child forever? After all, it's not as if you don't know what sort of place Velsar is. This world is a battlefield.
Did we really need to bring in another character?
Velsar is a land created by the Lord of Darkness.
Are they
He
gonna
who
kill
wakes a
this
slumbering
nameless
god
Dragon
and feeds
Newt
him
character
will inherit
instead?
the throne and rule the world. That is why we fight. Neither the yokai nor the werewolves can be allowed to grasp that power.
And is this supposed to be just a random Dragon Newt, or is this the bartender?
It will spell the ruin of the Dragon Newt clan. Do you understand?
Wait, I don't think I've
So
really
that's your
seen
excuse for turning me into a
yokai.
tool?
It's not about you. The future of the clan is at stake.
It would be so easy to say, Grits, you're in charge.
What right do you have to talk to the young master like that? Know your place!
But Greats, sir, I know you feel the same way. If we don't do something soon, the young master's actions will be the death of us.
Enough! If you know what's good for you, you will hold your tongue! Young master,
Remind me, what were we just talking about? Oh, about how I shouldn't use force. Well, what are you doing now, Greats? Anyway, he's telling the truth, right? I'm just a tool to you. And I'd bet my last scale it's not just you two. Pops, all his followers, this whole clan treats me like I'm a tool.
You've done nothing to deserve otherwise.
Our loyalty lies with the late master, not you.
Do we really need to throw in yet another character?
Oh, boo-hoo. Well, I don't want your loyalty. Out of my sight.
young master, please, stop! I will deal with them myself.
Too late, Greats.
Show mercy. They merely forgot themselves.
You really don't know anything,
Like,
do you?
throwing in 2 non-named characters
Master!
No, you don't know a damn
that
thing.
he's gonna either
I
beat
can't
up or
stand
kill,
people like you.
instead
You
of just
people, this
taking
world,
Grits out.
why do I have to be trapped
It's
in
kinda
a place
pointless.
Like this? Get lost!
See, they only really exist because of a card game.
Why things have to turn out this way?
Because fate decrees it. You were destined to be the leader.
I never wanted this.
What you wanted has nothing to do with it. Fate does not take requests. Young master, please, calm yourself. This is enough.
I told you earlier, didn't I? It's too late for that.
Oh!
You've worked hard over the years, Greats. Why was it that you tried so hard to improve the clan's opinion of me? Was it simply your duty?
There's
or
just
your
nothing to
personal
say
agenda?
here, and I'm
Either
just
way, you wasted your
like,
time.
completely
It was the
uninterested.
last promise I ever made to your grandfather.
45 minutes
I
in.
swore to him on his
This is
deathbed
about 15
that I'd
minutes
see
worth
you
of
grow into a leader.
story.
That way we can fly together. It's a promise, right? Promise me.
All right, all right.
Guess,
It's a promise.
if anything, this is just
Great.
reminding me to not play visual
Why'd you have
novels,
to go and make me
or
angry?
be very, very careful
Ah!
about what visual novels I would try and play.
Sir! Young master, stop! This is too much!
Too much? You really think that? You refused to accept me. You angered me. But now we're even. You're a monster!
How could you do this? What would your grandfather think?
It's funny that the dragon
Gives a
newt's
damn what he'd think.
wings look
done
completely
with all
different
this.
compared to Drock's
Young master.
and Gretz's.
Sir, be careful. You mustn't.
Enough. I'm fine. Enough, I say. Young master, I never cared about what became of me. In fact, I practically threw my life away, all for the sake of raising you. But I will not let you harm our brethren.
So is
As a
this,
proud member of the
is Gretz
Dragoon
supposed to
clan,
be
I
the
cannot allow it.
replacement father?
You can end this now. Just say you made a mistake, and things will go back to the way they were. Please, say it.
And he has
I'm
totally
done
different
lying. Do whatever you want.
horns.
I don't care anymore.
It's just a lot of different visuals,
Young master!
art styles here. Even between these horns and
This
these
is
horns are
absolutely
slightly
unforgivable.
different.
Who does that kid think he is?
Sir, surely you can't defend him after that, can you? Just look at what he did to you.
What's
Great,
funny is
sir. We would
this guy
follow
is
you without
wearing
a
like
second
torn up
thought. You
jeans,
make a much better leader than that jumped up little.
it looks like.
I know. I know. Okay. The young master has gone far, far away, where my wisdom cannot follow. I will take responsibility
I'm
for this
probably
mess.
not the kind of person who would
That is the Dragonhoot way.
really
After all,
spend more than a few minutes
mean-
looking at a painting.
Let us finish
Also,
this.
so
I shall settle this
if the
matter
idea
once
was to
and for
try and
all.
just
That kid
crawl
deserves a
over
good
every
beating for all
visual
he's done.
detail as much
do
as
not know what it
possible,
will
even
take
though
to
all
set
the
things
visuals are
right.
being reused over and
I
over
cannot
again,
deny that the young master is not fit to
it
lead.
still takes, I think, too
Not
long.
like this.
I don't think there's an
do
hour
what has
of
to be
art
done.
appreciation in
Prepare
these
yourselves.
stories.
Course. I've been waiting for this day ever since the passing of our last master, you know.
Even without the Seer Stone, you are the best leader our clan could ever hope for. We are behind you all the way, sir.
The story does seem to
Master.
be
I didn't
slightly
want this
different
either.
than the previous one, in that the Nine-Tails fox was getting eaten, and something terrible happened. Here it seems more like Drock is getting exactly what he wants. Alright. So we were at 6, and there's 9. So That leaves us with 4 more chapters to actually get somewhere. And 5 chapters of setup in what you could have done in 1, maybe 2.
It was the last promise I ever made to your grandfather. I swore to him on his
At a certain
deathbed
level, if there
that
was
I'd
just
see
a
you grow
narrator
into a leader.
who would just describe Drocht and his
That way
backstory,
we
you
can
could
fly
you could
together.
do it
It's
in
a promise,
1 chapter
right?
very
Promise
easily.
me.
Just do slightly better writing
all
than
right.
something like,
It's
this
a
is
promise.
Drocht, he is the grandson of the former
Liar.
Dragon Newt clan. He is now the new
My.
leader, although he doesn't want the
Who
responsibility.
are you?
He inherited the Sunstone,
That's not the question you should be
and he
asking me, little snapdragon.
lost his personality and freedom in the exchange.
What
You
are
can.
you?
That's pretty much the entire story up until
You
this point.
catch on fast. But I'm afraid I can't answer your question now.
Now remember
Isn't time, see?
that
Why don't you
she's
get your blabber somewhere
at
else?
least looks
I'm not in the
human,
mood.
so these
Yes, you're
monsters
stuck
should
between a
kind of
rock and a
question
hard
that
place now,
a little
aren't
bit
you?
more.
Oh, but you'll break free eventually and soar to your happy ending.
What's that supposed to mean?
Questions. Oh well, this cycle's about to finish anyways. I suppose a little sneak peek wouldn't hurt.
So her little magic wand,
Young master,
I think, is a
for all these years, raising you had been my
story.
only reason
It
for
is
living.
a time
I
travel,
wanted to make
time
sure you
manipulation
became a strong, capable leader,
magic wand.
just like I promised your grandfather so long ago. I poured my everything
And if
into
they were
trying
going to
make
commit
that happen.
to the fortune teller showing
now,
the
young master,
fortunes of each of these
I realize
characters,
the error of my ways.
you could have done that very,
You are
very
simply not
early.
fit to lead.
Like, chapter 1 could have been the setup of
Guides.
Drock. Chapter
Why?
2 could have been the
The seer stone. Beautiful.
chapter
isn't
2
it?
could have been the
And just
foreseeing
what are you
of
planning
a
on doing
bad
with it?
fate,
Or have
and
you
then the
already
remaining
forgotten what you
chapters
told
could
me?
be fighting against that fate,
Of course I haven't.
fighting against it and failing,
This
and then
gem
fighting
can only
against
be
it and
wielded by
succeeding.
its rightful owner. All others will turn to ash within a day. Quite frustrating. Why were you chosen to inherit the seer stone? Why was I left by the wayside? I swore to your grandfather on his deathbed that I would take care of you. But to think that you'd turn out like this? Clearly, fate was not on my side.
You can't be serious. If you use that thing, there's no turning back.
I've already made my peace.
Even the writers of this game
Great.
clearly
Do you
wanted
hate
to
me
speed
that
things
much?
up using
I
this
do. But you're hardly
foreshadowing
one to talk,
or
are
flash
you?
forward method.
You've been steeped in anger for so long, damning the world, hating everything but yourself.
Yeah, you're right. So this is it then.
I still don't really see what the
Fulfill my promise to your grandfather.
big final boss
I
battle
can at least offer
would
him
be
our ashes.
in the next chapter.
Let us
Almost
perish
certainly what's
together,
going to happen
Drock.
is that the 4 main characters are going to end up fighting
Talking
each
like you
other
still have high
a little
ground to
bit, and
stand
then fighting
You make
on
me sick.
fighting together,
I don't
and
need
then
you
that'll be the
anymore.
reveal
Die!
of the real bad guy, and then there'll be a whole nother chapter at that point.
My, was the preview not to your liking?
You...
That was another life of yours, you know.
And see, that
A
was
different
exactly what I
cycle, if you
predicted,
will.
is that he was going to end up killing
Answer
Gretz.
the question!
But I did, little dragon snap. Now, if you'd please stop that hollering and think.
Cut the crap!
Wasn't it always your dream to soar the skies? Well, then I'd suggest you listen to me, for my voice is the voice of the heavens.
It's really hard to care about
My
any of
words
these
are
new
prophecy,
characters,
Drock.
like Drocked, when
Oh my.
like
I never
Bunny
meant
as a
to
character
hurt
in the
you.
previous
I
expansions,
do apologize.
previous chapters, get
You
introduced
sound
and then
like you're
forgotten
looking to
about.
die.
You just know
You
that
are
these characters are going to
absolutely
be
correct.
forgotten
But
about too.
unfortunately, you can't give me what I want. You see, the path you're currently on, this cycle of life, will lead to what we might call your happy ending. You set foot on this path once every few lives. But even here, you cannot change the world. Oh dear, we really must do something about that temper of yours.
They make it out like it's
Man, one
timelines,
loot
but
after another
the
today.
way she explains it, it's almost
Get
like
lost.
time is in a loop
Drock,
going
are
over
you
and over
sure it's
again.
me you should be bearing your fangs at? My.
Instead of
Look at
different
all these
timelines
others
happening
vying for your
in
attention.
parallel,
Well,
or
it's
different
time I take my leave.
alternate universes
Until we meet
moving
again.
in parallel.
Drock, you're no leader of ours. All this time,
And
we thought you were a symbol of hope.
you have to just
But
be
you turned out to
careful
be a
here
symbol
as
of
far as
despair.
whether this is going
You
to
were never cut out to be our leader. All
devolve
this
back
time,
into
we've been
just
waiting for Grace to take
arguing
over.
and fighting, or
Get real.
whether
Damn it. Nothing ever goes the way I want it to.
this is just going to
This
be
clan's nothing more than a
a
prison.
quick fight to
Your
move the
bonds are
story
nothing more
forward.
than shackles. And now you've gone and made me mad.
But everything here is
Your
solved
quarrel
very,
does not lie with me.
very
Your anger stems from an
simplistically
issue
and kind
far
of stupidly
deeper.
with violence.
You cannot move forward.
But also,
until
I
you come
wouldn't
to
really
understand
want him
that.
to sit down and talk things
Get
out.
lost. I don't need anything. What good is the sky if you can't fly in it?
Yep. Keep on going forward. I can definitely say, while going through this story,
All you ever do is
it's
get in
definitely
my
not
way.
inflaming the passion as far as wanting to see more of Shadowverse. It would be absolutely insane for me to commit to coming back to Shadowverse every couple of months and
That's my life.
trying to see the next bit of the story.
All Grace has done for you. All we've
It's
done
not
for
even
you.
like the Shadowverse solo story modes
Raised you.
started
Turned
with
around
a
and bit the hand that
particularly
fed
good
you.
premise.
Tell me, who's forgotten what now? I
Yeah.
remember everything. You're the ones who have forgotten.
And compared to like the Yu-Gi-Oh anime, the same is kind of
Been a
true.
while, hasn't it?
Like
The last time I saw you,
until
were
you
teaching me
get
how to sharpen my
near the
claws.
end of the first season with the first
And
tournament
you, we used to play
being
together,
wrapped up,
making little paper birds, tossing them up
most
into the
of what
sky and watching them
happens
fly.
in the
Remember
first season
that?
of Yu-Gi-Oh is just people playing card games for fun
I
in a
remember
tournament.
every little thing. Look at me. There are tears in my eyes because I remember. I'm dogged by guilt because I remember. All
Like-
I wanted was to fly,
And
but you
it's
couldn't even let me have that.
not until you really start getting
You
into
trapped
the
me in a life I never even wanted.
first series of Yu-Gi-Ohs
He's gone
with the whole
completely mad. Watch out.
Millennium item puzzle,
We have to take
Millennium
him
puzzle
down.
items. It's at that point that
Damn
the
it.
interesting twist happens.
You were the ones who forced
And then
this
it
stupid seer stone on me.
Takes forever to get.
You were the ones who
get
chained me
anywhere
to
with
this
it.
life. Why did it have to be me? I didn't decide. You did. Don't give in.
He's just a kid.
Well,
In all fairness, I don't know what story you would tell
tell
here.
me I'm wrong. I I dare
Like,
you.
for a collectible card
Fine,
game,
kid. You're wrong.
like you
know how many
establish,
chances Greats gave you to clean up your act?
you have to establish like a
threw away every
war
opportunity
going
he gave
on,
you.
or just
Gallivanting
constant
around,
battling going
refusing to
on,
grow up, never thinking about how your actions would affect
for a
the clan.
collectible card game, unless you can try to
I don't care.
make some kind of card game that
never cared.
isn't an
I am
analogy
not
of
the
battling.
clan. I'm me. You little.
But I've never
Don't
seen
you have a
anybody
shred
even
of
try
respect for
that.
your grandfather?
So if you're gonna try and put a story behind it,
Did he ever care about me?
then
He never
don't
wanted
even
me
know.
to be leader. If we hadn't been
Uh,
connected by blood,
I had
he never
forgotten
would've looked
that
twice at me. None of you
they
would've.
sometimes do these special
That's what
larger
drove me mad.
art
That's why you all have to go.
scenes, art frames. They didn't even do one for the previous character.
Why can't everything just burn? Ah! Why things have to turn out this way?
I think you probably do just establish a tournament, some kind of war, some kind of competition
Fine by
that
me.
has to keep going,
Guess that's what it is to grow up.
that forces
You
people
turn
to fight,
selfish.
instead of
I don't
having
care
a
about
solo
myself.
story that has the
will?
keepers as a main bad guy, because
Young master!
with the tournament you can
Please,
just
try
always
calm down.
introduce more bad guys,
What
whereas
do you want?
this story,
Let's
as
stop
soon
this,
as
young master.
like
It's enough,
Nexus as
isn't
the keeper of Serenity,
I'm sure if you apologize, Greats will forgive you.
Which one of us is in the right?
Huh?
Me or Greats? Which one of us do you think is right? Go on, tell me. Guess I didn't even need to ask.
I think
did
it's kind of unfair to call the two female
Master,
characters
stop.
here
We only
bar
ever wanted
floozies,
what was best for you.
because
Is that so?
he met
Or is
them
that what
outside the
those
bar
crusty old elders told you to say?
and
Well, it doesn't
invited
matter
them
either
to the
way.
bar.
You'll have to try harder if you want to distract me.
No, that wasn't what we.
Save your breath. You really think this betrayal is a surprise to me? I expected it all along. I knew it was coming. Right from the very start. I always knew. I knew none of you ever understood me.
The only thing I can really say about this story right now is this is kind of a great example of how it
Young master!
is often useful to
He's our enemy now, remember?
try to find a way to gracefully exit relationships before it becomes a knockdown, drag out fight.
Now, why would
Of course,
she
this
want
is
to
a
end up like me?
anime
Mark my words, boy.
exaggeration of that,
Tyranny and
but
insolence stops now.
had drawn
Ah,
simply
damn it.
snuck out in the middle of the
Coward you
night
are.
many years
That's your new
ago,
fate.
and to never be seen again.
My
That
fate.
probably would have been a better way to
What a
go.
joke. Fate never meant anything to me.
Young master!
In fact, you don't really have to burn
Let
bridges.
him go.
You could have just said, I'm going to
Don't tell me
train
you
to be
intend
a
kill
leader
him.
That is
in
not
the
my
desert
decision
or
to
something.
make. The one who has the final say is.
Of course, he may not really have anywhere to go in this world.
Hey, did you miss me? You were waiting for me, right, Greats?
I think what you would
ran
want to
from
do
your responsibility.
is have
You ran from your duty.
one main character in the solo
However,
story,
I shall not run from mine.
and
Come.
have the 8 different
Let us finish
class
this.
leaders, if you need to introduce them as friends of the main character, assistant characters of the main leader, or even like generals of the main leader. Even if it was just kind of a faceless main character, that might work, but honestly it probably should just be a really likable character. So they mostly focus on Orisa. If they had written Orisa better and made her very likable, and she was just the main character throughout all the stories, and then the other leaders were just friends of Orisa, that might work fairly well. It certainly would make it very impactful when Orisa basically died.
He was as good a man as any I've known.
But basically, since I didn't care about her that much, or dying,
when he was angered.
wasn't that important.
When he roared, the mountains echoed and the earth trembled. But when you looked in his eyes, all you saw was kindness. Once he started laughing, he never stopped.
So yeah, I would probably start with Orisa as a main character. I would send her on a journey to
he was a wonderful man.
Fight creatures and
loyal,
lock creatures into spell cards to represent her hunts.
Yes.
And
I wanted that very much.
I'd get rid of the Keeper. I'd get rid of Orisa's friend becoming the vessel of Serenity. I'd get rid of the jumping from world to world so quickly. Probably not jump from universe to universe and just have a very large lands in which there's different kinds of creatures all on one planet.
We were able to smile and laugh.
They definitely tried to have the story at the beginning of the solo mode where it was like the entire world was getting destroyed, the entire universe was getting destroyed. And then they set those stakes incredibly high, and they can't go any higher.
Become the leader we knew you could be.
And like,
at least it was back then.
Most of the chapters since then don't even really feel like the universe is even a threat from one of the keepers. Half the time it's just a vessel. They went from gods to vessels of gods being the enemies.
You keep saying that this is all our fault. Over and over
the other thing is they could have just certainly had a solo mode that told one complete story in 3 or 4 chapters in a shorter amount of time, and then do nothing for 5 years, and just, if you have a completely different story you want to tell for the 5th year anniversary, put out another story. Because I can't believe anybody is actually coming to Shadowverse for the solo mode. It's just not. It's not something you could sell the game on. It's a free-to-play game, and I still don't think you would get visual novel fans to want to play the game. Nor are you going to convince collectible card games to players to move over to Shadowverse because it has this solo mode.
Anyone else could have changed that.
That's not what I want to hear.
And it just highlights an overarching problem with Shadowverse is that there's just far too much. There's just like far too much happening on the main screen in the first place, and sometimes less is more. This is exactly where Shadowverse has gone. It just has way too much content.
Free, but you can't. You must lead our clan. No one outflies destiny.
You really don't get it, do you, Greats? I'm not trying to outfly destiny. I'm gonna rip it apart.
And see, what's funny here is I thought that was the last chapter before the end here. So I guess we're gonna have a fight here, and then I don't think anything is gonna happen different.
You're
So Droct is going to get his happy ending of being free, in the sense of being free of connections.
It's all your fault, damn it. Why did it have to be like this?
Me? You think this is my fault?
I do have
You're
to
the
say,
one who's caused all this.
Draught is kind of one of these self-absorbed,
Master,
narcissistic
for all
characters
these years,
who,
raising you had been my
even if
only
he
reason for
did
living.
succeed in killing
I
all
wanted
the
to
other
make sure
dragon
you
newts
became a strong,
and
capable
completely
leader, just like I
disconnecting
promised your
himself and
grandfather so
gaining
long ago.
that freedom of
Poured my
having
everything
no
into trying to make that
emotional
happen.
connections or duty
Now,
or
young master,
to anybody else.
I realize the error of
He
my
would
ways.
be so stuck in his
You are
mentality
simply
of blaming
not
others
fit to lead.
for without looking
Grace,
inward,
Why?
that he would
The seer stone.
fairly quickly start making new connections, and then fairly
Just what
quickly
are you
after that
planning on doing with
blaming
it?
those new
Or have
connections
you
for
already forgotten what you told me?
his problems.
Of course I haven't.
Very few
This
people
gem
can
only
really
be wielded by its
live
rightful owner.
on their own,
All
and
others will
no
turn
man
to
is an
ash within a
island, is the
day.
old saying there.
Quite frustrating.
And
Why were you
you
chosen to
won't
inherit the seer
achieve
stone?
that
Why
level
was
of
I left
independence,
by the wayside?
even if that is truly
I
what you
swore to your
want, by
grandfather on his deathbed
by
that I would take care of you.
disliking
But to think that
being
you'd turn out
dependent
like
and being
this?
connected to other people. You
Clearly
only
fate was
achieve that
not
kind
on
of
my
independence
side.
by really
You can't
loving
be serious.
yourself
If you
and
use
being
that
alone
thing,
and
there's
being
no turning
self-reliant,
I've
which
already made my peace.
they don't show any evidence
Great.
that Drock does
Do
that
you
at
hate
all.
me that much?
If anything, him going to the bar and drinking with
But you
the
hardly want to talk,
girls
are you?
and trying to
You've been
kind of
steeped in
pick a
anger for
fight
so
with the
long, damning
vampire
the world,
guy,
hating everything
that
but
that
yourself.
screams wanting to actually interact with people and form connections.
Your quarrel does not lie with me. Your anger stems from an issue far deeper. You cannot move forward until you come to understand.
In a funny way, this isn't too far from a parallel of
One
someone
day,
trying to break free
you will
from a
understand.
cult. And wouldn't be
Damn it.
crazy for somebody to be
Yeah,
high
that's
up in a
right.
cult and
They're all
still
right
be
about me.
completely
Don't think me
trapped
a cold-hearted monster,
in
young
those
master.
relationships.
I do
And-
understand your feelings, if only a little. Being forced to do things you do not wish to do. Being pushed and pulled in
Of course,
directions
it's also
you do not
worth
wish to
mentioning
follow.
that
Of course,
from a
anyone
Japanese
would hate it,
perspective, this story would be
but
acquired.
that's fine. All your hatred,
From a Japanese
all
perspective,
your
this
anger,
story would be seen
take
in a
it
very
all out
different
on
way.
me.
Most
Isn't that what you
Japanese would
wanted,
say
Drock?
Droct is 100% in the wrong, and he
Stop,
should
please.
conform, and he should
The
follow
seer stone's not
the
the
rules,
answer.
and that he's
After
just being
all
a spoiled
this,
brat.
Are you trying to
Whereas
make peace now?
a United Statesian, a Westerner
It's too late.
who is
You
more
and
focused
I
around
are
independence and rugged individuality
We're
would
not.
be more lenient
What do you
to
think you're doing?
agree with Draught
We're not.
and
We were never enemies.
um,
I never hated you.
and
It was
say
never
that the
you
rest
I
of the
was angry
clan
at.
is wrong, in the wrong.
The one I was angry at the most is myself. It's myself I hate.
And that's why you get this
Grace,
twist here.
you're not my enemy.
You're the one who raised me like a father.
It all makes sense now. What that guy at the tavern was going on about.
Yep.
And what Pops told me on his deathbed.
There is a certain level there where
Can you believe it?
the other people
He
are in
used
the
his
wrong
last
to
breath to lecture me.
just not even use his
Pissed
name.
me off at the time, but guess he was right. The person I most needed acceptance from was myself. I'm childish. I'm arrogant. I'm weak. I hated all that about myself. But I took it out on you guys. Do you remember, Greats? You were all a part of my dream. I wanted to fly up in the sky with our whole clan. I never liked fighting. And I've always preferred smiles over tears. I can't lead. I mean, you all raised me. And we promised that we'd soar through the skies, side by side. I miss the old days.
The only thing
We were all
here
happy
is
back then.
Great's
talk about
gonna
my
die
dreams,
here
and
because
no
he's
one would laugh at me.
activated the Seer Stone.
But one day,
I wouldn't be
that'll
surprised if it
change.
did.
You all grew up. But me... Why am I still the same damn kid? Don't use the Seer Stone, Greats. You don't need to. I'm the only one that has to go. Kill me, Greats. If someone's going to do it anyway, I'd rather it be you.
You blasted fool. How can you say that? I could never do that to you. It was all an act, you know. If I took the Seer Stone into my heart and goaded you into battle, then had you pierced me through the chest, you would have thus touched the Seer Stone. And whether you willed it or not, its powers would have been yours.
You idiot.
So you can see how the fortune teller was trying to trick him.
But it was the only plan I could think of. How could I possibly kill you?
So apparently he's never
After
even
all, it was
touched
I
the
who
Seer
taught you how to
Stone.
use your wings. It was I who taught you how to eat. Back when you were so small and helpless. You know, before your grandfather took me under his wing, I was but a hopeless child myself. I owe him
This is
a great debt.
arguably getting too sappy, and perhaps a lot of this sappiness should have been shown a lot earlier in the story.
The most important promise I ever made in
Take
my life.
10-20% of this sappiness, put it at the beginning of the story, so you're more invested when they get into the conflict.
All right.
There's a lot of
It's a promise.
peaks and valleys here of
All about it.
just like, oh, I hate this person, I want to kill them. Oh, I love this person. Oh, I hate this person.
Not you.
I'm sorry,
It's
young master.
an unnatural roller
A simple
coaster
apology
ride.
can't ever make this right. But I take full responsibility for everything.
And I guess this is the part where you atone by offing yourself.
Well, yes. That's the penalty for rebellion.
Huh. I was never one to play by the rules.
Young master.
Rebellion is kind of a strong word. We're family. We're bound to fight every once in a while, right? We're all in the wrong. You, me, and the clan too. Let's just leave it at that. Listen, I'm not going
I'm a
to
little
use the
surprised
Seer
that they're even willing to
This
say
whole
that
gem
much.
is Pop's treasure, not mine. I want to do things my way. So make me another promise, Greats. I don't want to lead, but I don't want to follow either. I want to fly with you, side by side.
Very well. And I won't forget this promise so easily.
That's what I like to hear.
Let's go home.
Funny
young
is
master.
the background music
Thought I told you
is
to call
getting
me
kind of
Frog.
creepy here, and I don't think there's a reason for that. I think
My
it's literally
apologies.
just that
Old
they
habits
programmed
die
it
hard. That is something I
some
will never
background
work on,
music
I expect.
fades in and fades out.
Whatever. I don't expect things to change overnight.
May I ask you something?
Yeah?
Why do you want to fly?
Huh? Isn't that obvious? To drive away the clouds. And once we do that, Velsar's skies will be blue again. And won't that be something to smile about?
Dot 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 dot. So she seems happy about it.
How unfortunate. Yes, Drak got his happy ending, but he is just one character on a wide, wide stage. One that is still shrouded in shadow. Well, what can you expect with Mr. Darkness as our star? Any play that he's in can only be a tragedy. Oh, the tale stays bright for a while yet. Drak and his dragon newts make peace with the other clans, and the skies become free again. The races live together in peace and quiet, and this causes them to grow weak, complacent. In time, the Lord of Darkness awakens and brings the curtains down on Velsar. The end. Oh, don't fret. I won't make you watch the death and destruction. It would break your poor hearts. In fact, I think we've had quite enough storytelling for one day.
I guess
Let us
if
meet again
the
in
fortune
the
teller
next life.
Flowey's here had just been taunting me from the beginning of the whole thing, all the chapters, that kind of would make some sense, really. That as kind of a narrative focus, and this is probably just repeated content here.
The ending of our newest tale is as of yet unwritten. The cycle repeats again and again. Claws and fangs break and shatter before fading into darkness.
Does
They
definitely
strive
have the
with all
feel
their
of just
strength,
hopelessness around
but
it.
cannot defy
Like
fate. They stretch forth
with the
their
keepers
heads,
and the vessels,
but
and
cannot grasp victory.
it just doesn't really feel like any of these four characters even combined
I suppose
could
it can't be helped. The
could
curtains of fate
actually
have
defeat
already
the fortune
fallen on
teller
this
or
stage.
Nexus or
Pride, peace, resolve, resignation. None of it matters in the end. This play was written to be a tragedy from the start. What a pity. It breaks my heart.
this is just repeated content.
Just kidding. I left my heart behind forever ago. Anyhow, the cycles continue until fate leads them to the ultimate
Take
conclusion.
note of her magic
Isn't that right,
stuff,
Nexus?
because I'm gonna go back and see.
It's been quite some time.
It's been a while
hasn't
since
it?
we've seen Nexus drawn this way. It's
Guardian of this world,
really ridiculous how
why
much
do you
detail
seek
they put
endless
into this
cycles of
picture.
death and rebirth?
Why do you think?
Thou art but a broken vessel, destined to succumb.
The keepers end timelines and realities. They don't
There's
reset
no need to
them
get bent out
in
of
endless
shape.
cycles.
Why, I am doing all this just for you. Keeper, Nexus. Just for you.
Maybe we have a twist here where it turns out that
Do remember that this world is under my control. No one can meddle in it unless I say so.
this
Vessel
character
of
is
stagnation,
somehow
know thy
stronger.
fate is destruction. I am a keeper. I am Nexus of serenity. I bringeth harmony unto worlds.
It almost feels like it's
Harmony.
a keeper
It's
versus a
very
keeper
lovely,
fight.
If I do say so myself. But a tad too much, and things will lose their interest. Well then, it's time for me to slumber once again.
It would almost make more
Next,
sense
We'll revisit that nostalgic place.
for you
Perhaps
to
this time, the
have
bullet of
started
fate
this
will
story
hit its mark.
with each of the main 8 leaders having this long history of worshipping a keeper, and each keeper choosing a leader as their own champion and having them fight against each other to start with, and then eventually the leaders realizing that they shouldn't be fighting for the keepers but against them. Yep. Yeah, that was an hour and 25 minutes, really. And we've still got 2 more of those, and we don't really get this conclusion, which is called Entropy's Abyss Reconclusion, because I think it's probably going to go over Fate's Trigger conclusion and recontextualize that. Let's see. And this was the Verdi manga, yeah, character. I forgot she even existed as a character. Yeah. This is basically the last time we saw them, is that everybody walked off into the sunset, and we haven't seen any of the other characters since. Let's see. Alright. So here's a picture of one of the robot characters that had this time staff. Wouldn't be the first staff, certainly, but yeah. So it would be here. I don't think we can particularly jump into this part and see anything. It would be either here, which that doesn't seem like enough of a storyline for there to be that much dialogue. Half a meg for audio.
Their fate is not deserved, but wrought. The magnum opus of a quiet force, whispering of purgatory. But even in this landscape of limitless
This is really old story.
they persist until one day this insurrection will invite untold destruction.
And that didn't show any of the characters. So, somewhere around here probably would be a point where you would see the characters. Yes, it really just doesn't take that much to download audio, as you'd think.
Never. I've hated you for so long. You filthy, unknowable creature.
This story just does not matter.
I can feel it. It's her.
And here we have
Finally, something interesting.
some really uninteresting characters at this point because they just don't matter.
Willful one, your request.
Like, I've almost completely forgotten Luna's story and Isabel's story and the dragon story because there's so little there.
No, she's high. We didn't ask. Tell me, Nova. Baphomet, don't lump me.
And see, in that, within that same story,
Alas, you are malformed. Your being rejects this honor. However, there may still be a role for you yet.
see, and this should be thou aren't or are not fit.
Destroy, rampage, thy home shall know, and in following my
Nerva,
will, I will imbibe the souls
in
of this
getting back to
world.
Nexus, the original character, we've forgotten about Nerva. So yeah, I really could not. I just have to guess here somewhere around, like, this maybe Alpha and Omega might be a good point where you could try to bring up the robot characters. Yep, here's Mono. She just doesn't, not like these characters really matter. If the magic wand was the same magic wand, I would just have to assume that they we're just kind of copying pasting the artwork. Not that the character is supposed to be someone of importance.
Tetra, I am the first of our lineage. Here goes.
Yeah. Definitely they've gone everywhere and tried everything here.
May I ask you?
Over the span of so to answer.
Is
That being
that was the plan?
don't be read.
And just
But
trying
have
to
you
get a
truly-
specific piece of art here
Yes, it
is
seems your
fairly
dance is-
difficult.
Oh mercy! I can't figure out what's going on inside that head of yours. So.
Yeah. And that wasn't the girl I was looking for, and at this point, I just have to go through the whole thing just to get that one picture, just to find out that no, the fortune teller's magic wand is only slightly similar to this. I suppose we'll end it on a pack opening, but there's not really any real reason why I'm wasting tickets to open packs, and there's not really reason why I'm opening cards. Let's just go ahead and skip, actually. I get one new card that way and just a bunch of not so new cards. Alright, well, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.